Thank you to VMB Supremo for the contribution made to us as part of your Quesadilla Day initiative. We are very proud to have been selected to be one of the recipients of those resources. It's going a long way to help our community right now.
Well, we are here on Inspira, and we have Marty Castro with Casa Central. And how are you doing, Marty?
We're doing really well. Thank you for having me on Inspira. And I also just want to say on behalf of Casa Central, thank you to VMB Supremo for the contribution made to us as part of your Quesadilla Day initiative. We are very proud to have been selected to be one of the recipients of those resources. It's going a long way to help our community right now.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're very excited. We're very happy that you were able to participate with us as well. Hopefully we'll be able to do that as we go forward in the future. But now I really want to talk more about you and your organization and kind of what do you guys do? I mean, can I give us a better sense of what Casa Central is all about?
Well, Casa Central was founded in 1954, and we were started as Casa Central Evangelista, helping the immigrant community, particularly the Latino immigrant community at that time, as well as the Puerto Rican community from the area, address all sorts of social service needs. And over the last several decades, we have grown to be a multi-service agency, and we are actually one of the largest, if not the largest, Latino social service agencies in the Midwest. And we really deal with the span of life. We have programs for early childhood, early Head Start, and as the product of Head Start myself, I know how important that program is, particularly for families with little resources, economic resources, as well as those that are limited English proficient. That's where I learned how to speak English, was in Head Start. So we have programs both center-based and home-based in that area, as well as childcare programs. And then we graduate those students eventually to our after-school programs. Right now, they're full day when CPS is out of session, which it was during the pandemic. And even recently, there have been some days where CPS is out of session. That's when our programs become full day, as well as during the summer to work with children who are in grade school and middle school. In addition, we have programs for families, whether they're families that are homeless. We are one of the very few homeless shelters for families that are homeless. And we don't just give someone a cot and a shower, we give them apartments. So they're living as though they were in a non-homeless scenario. We provide them with food, they cook in their own apartment, and we also give them job training and provide them with other wraparound services, help them learn how to save funds, give them job training, teach them how to be economically self-sufficient, and then help them find housing that's affordable so they can get up and move on. We also have programs for families that come into contact with the child welfare system. We've seen a rise in that during the pandemic because there's been a rise in domestic violence, there's been a rise in community violence. So we provide those families through DCFS with our services to determine whether or not they should stay intact. Mm-hmm. Similarly, there's been that uptick in violence. So we also have a separate program called our Violence Prevention Initiative that works with families and individuals who are victims of community or domestic violence to provide them with therapy and support. But also within that, statistics show that many of the folks who are violence perpetrators today, when they were young children, were either victims of violence or witnesses to violence. So we start early at 0 to 5 to provide those children with therapy services and their families so that we detangle that violence even before it starts. So that's a program we're very proud of. In addition, we support families who are aging. So many of us have parents and grandparents who are in need of support. Some of us try to care for them, but at some point that becomes overwhelming. So we have, of our 525 employees, almost 400 of them are home care workers who go into the homes of our elderly and provide them with assistance on their chores, cooking, cleaning, making sure they're taking their meds, helping them with their errands so they could stay safe and sheltered at home. Again, that's become even more important now during the pandemic. And then another program, which we suspended during most of the pandemic, but now is back online, is our Adult Day Center, where we bring in older adults from all over the Chicago metro area on our own bus system to come to our facility to do activities that are cognitively enhancing, that are, again, making sure they're taking their meds, making sure that they're active, leading an active lifestyle. And some folks there, the range, right? Very active and very cognizant, their surroundings, as well as some who are dealing with initial dementia. So we try to help all those folks have very healthy, active lives, so that, again, reduces the burden on their family and keeps them healthy and happy as long as we can. So those are just some of the things we do at Casa Central.
You lost my. I can barely breathe. Honestly, you go from pretty much from cradle all the way to
golden years.
Yeah, golden years. Wow, that truly is an amazing spectrum of services that you provide the Hispanic community. Wow, how long have you been with Casa Central?
I have been the CEO now for about 5 years. Although over the years I've been a supporter of Casa Central as a member of the team. It's been 5 years. As I was finishing my term on the Civil Rights Commission, I had been appointed by President Obama to be the chair of the commission, the first Latino in the history of the commission. So as my term was ending, Casa Central reached out to me and asked me to come over and help lead the agency, which I've been very proud to do since then.
Wow. Well, that really is, it's incredible. So tell me, you touched a little bit on it, how has COVID impacted the situation and your ability the organization's ability to do what that you do?
Well, we have been on the very front lines since the beginning of the pandemic. As you know, many organizations have done that, but some organizations weren't able to continue to serve, either because of the impact of COVID financially on them or because of the type of work they do. With the exception of, as I mentioned, our adult wellness center, which we couldn't bring our seniors in because we didn't want to do that during the pandemic, although we still provided them with remote service. Virtually all of our other programs stayed online. As I mentioned, our home care workers were literally on the front lines of the front lines. Our homeless shelter, we call La Posada, has been online since. And in fact, even there, we've seen, our specialty is supporting the Latino community, but we've seen a growth in the number of African Americans we've been serving through our homeless shelter, as well as through our DCFS programming. So we support anyone who needs the help, but we have seen that there's been some demographic shifts as well over the last couple of years. But the pandemic has caused us to go on heightened alert, not going back and sheltering, although a lot of our administrative staff has worked remotely or in hybrid because we don't want to unnecessarily bring people in who don't need to be into the office. And what helped us throughout this is, even before the pandemic, we have been using what we call PQI, or performance quality indicators. We're a data-driven agency. So even before the pandemic, all the programs that we run and serve the community with, we collect data constantly on them to see where we're doing, how we're doing, what we can do better, what we're doing really well. But we also apply those to our administrative staff, right? So when the pandemic happened, we had all kinds of data that allowed us to shift very easily and very quickly to address the needs of the community. In addition, we had already begun to change our technology infrastructure. We'd already been putting in place resources to be able to go virtual. So when we had to go virtual, we were able to sort of literally flip that switch. That's not to say we haven't had challenges, because our community overall still has a huge digital divide, and particularly some of the older adults that we serve. And even within our own employee population, those that serve our older adults are themselves older adults in many cases. So we still see that the pandemic has opened up these other rifts that we knew were there, whether it's healthcare access, whether it's information, a lot of misinformation that's been directed at our community about the vaccine, et cetera, as well as these technology challenges. So we've had to work around those and work above and beyond them to be as effective as we have been. And thankfully, we have been, as I say, we've not only been surviving as an agency, we've been thriving as an agency during the pandemic, in large measure through support of organizations like VNV Supremo and others who provided us with funding during the pandemic to be able to make ends meet.
Well, yeah, I will say I'm really, I have to say, I'm very impressed with the level of complexity that your organization is working with, and the fact that in this day and age, I know for companies, it's kind of like a given. You have to have the right information systems in place and so on and so forth. But for non-for-profits to really have that level of sophistication and understanding of how productive, how well people are doing what they're doing, quite impressive. I know that that's not necessarily the case across many organizations. And so to know that that's the way you hold accountability within your organization and productivity, and making sure that your clients are being taken care of at the level that you want them to be, and feel that they deserve, that they need to be taken care of. Quite impressive. It's not an easy task by any stretch. I'm really glad, very fortunate that we were able to help you in this time of need. I know that there's so many organizations out there that also need help. It's a struggle, and we try to do the best that we can with our limited resources as well, to the extent that we can. So in a way, it's kind of like a joint effort, hey, helping each other out and trying to do the best that we can to try to make life better for the community at large. Again, very, very, very impressive how different organizations, as you put it, have either shut down or have restructured in a way that they do a fraction of what they were doing before. The fact that you were able to actually continue on and do what you do, and perhaps even have expanded some of your programs because you were able to do them virtually, very impressive. I'm very, very glad that you were able to do that.
Well, thank you. Again, it's through support of supporters like BNV Supremo and our other philanthropic and corporate sponsors, but also I've got a great team of not only employees that are on the front lines every single day, but also my management team. Every one of those areas I told you about has a leader and a group of leaders that make sure things run. I've got administrative folks from COOs to CFOs that are top notch. And I've worked in corporations, law firms, federal and state government. And I can tell you that the quality of the people that work here at Casa Central rivals and exceeds some of those that I've worked with in for-profit sectors. And, there's this misperception about nonprofit that, we are not at the same caliber or level as for-profit. This agency, I've got, as I said, over 500 employees and almost $20 million budget, a number of, I call lines of businesses that I told you about. We are more complex as an agency than many businesses that are out there. So it's really bringing that kind of perspective to this agency that I've been able to do, given all the different things I've done in my career.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I completely understand. And that's why I was saying earlier, I have had the opportunity to talk to and engage with other non-for-profit organizations. Maybe don't have the history of being being around as long as your organization has. There's a lot of legacy here.
Absolutely.
I know we've been working with, and on some level, supporting Casa Central for many, many, many years. I've been with VNV since back in the early 80s. And so as far as I can remember, we, on one way or another, we've had the opportunity to go to the dinners, sponsoring, and so on and so forth. So it's really good to hear that there are organizations like yourself that exist, that are servicing not just the Latino community, as you put it, but the community at large that needs this level of services that you provide. Absolutely.
And it's that communal memory and that communal support that also makes it important, right? Because I know, VNV has been involved, even when Casa Central used to do the telemarathons many years ago. And the beauty of it, too, is we have a very great institutional memory here at Casa Central. Not only just the staff that I mentioned, we got a great board of directors, many of whom have been on our board for years. Some of them actually were receiving services from Casa when they were children. And even during the pandemic, when a lot of organizations were not recruiting to their board, we actually brought folks on from Facebook and United Airlines and Adobe. So, we're very vibrant, and it's really due, again, to these long-term partnerships, as well as the new partnerships we've been making during the last few months and years.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for allowing us to have a little bit of a perspective of what you do, what Casa Central is all about. And, I really ask at this point, the community at large, if you have the resources, if you have the ability, please support Casa Central. They're there to help the community. They're here to help people who are in great need. Therefore, but the grace of God could be any one of us. And this is where organizations like yourself really help people. And as you put it, they might have been early on as a child or even as a young adult. And at this point, they could be a doctor, lawyer, or whatever. And
absolutely. We even have on our board a representative who was previously homeless, because we have a homeless population. So we want to make sure that our board reflects those people we serve. And thank you for that. Folks can go to our Casa Central website and find out how they could support us. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, thank you very much, Marty. It was a pleasure talking to you. We look forward to working with you in the future. Take care.
Gracias, Gilberto.